Welcome to this month's New Jersey Business and Industry Association's Business Growth Roundtable. We created this show because we really want to equip you with what you need to succeed.
This event is ideal for business leaders who need to stay up to date on strategy, technology, and trends to grow their business.
So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NJBIA Business Growth Roundtable. I am Donna Miller, one of your co-hosts, and I am Chief Visionary Officer at C3 Works and founder of Donna Miller Business Growth Consulting, where for over 30 years, we've been helping companies to accelerate their growth by providing support and advisory services around operations, biz dev, and finance. What we really do is we allow growing teams and business owners to work smarter by focusing on that which actually moves the needle. And our clients know that by bringing us in to build AI-infused systems that are efficient, connected, and executable by them or us, they're laying the foundation for a company that will run and grow without them involved in every little detail. So if you are interested in working smarter and growing faster, who isn't? Let's talk. And let me hand it over to my co-host, Rachel Durkin.
Thank you, Donna, and hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Durkin. I'm with Paradigm Marketing and Design. We are a web marketing, branding, and sales enablement agency that specializes in working with clients with a complex sale. That means B2B, professional services, and nonprofit organizations. If you have a sales team and you want them to have more qualified leads and shorter sales cycles, we can help build a marketing to sales infrastructure that is going to decrease your cost of sale and make your sales team more effective, all while driving revenue up and costs down. So if you're looking for support in your in outsourced marketing or any of those areas, please contact me at Paradigm and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And this event would not be what it is without our sponsors. So first, thank you to Nissa Vaccia, who takes pride in delivering exceptional accounting services in New Jersey, built on a foundation of strong work ethic and a commitment to treating their clients like family. These are the traits they pass down from everyone on their team throughout their culture, and it's evident in everything they do. For more than 55 years, Nissa Vaccia has made great partnerships with all of their clients, and that is why they were chosen the best place to work and the top 25 accounting firms in New Jersey. And Donna, let me throw it over to you for our next sponsor.
And speaking of partnerships, we love partnering with Summit Place Financial Advisors. They offer focused, individualized attention, serving a select group of highly successful people like you who have outgrown mass market institutions. Success often comes with complex investment, tax, and estate planning challenges. Summit Place offers experienced, personalized, and disciplined guidance to help you achieve your financial goals and simplify wealth opportunistically. They collaborate with trusted professionals to bring a holistic, expert approach to your financial journey. Of course, Summit Place is an SEC-registered firm. They do not sell products, earn commissions, or have quotas to meet. They work solely in your best interest with no hidden fees or agenda. Rachel, who else do we need to thank?
And last but not least, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, which is the state's leading health insurance provider, committed to improving the health and well-being of New Jersey residents through innovative, high-quality, and affordable coverage. Guided by a mission to advance health equity, this organization strengthens communities statewide by investing in programs and partnerships that support access, wellness, and long-term health outcomes. Donna, back to you.
Excellent. And as Rachel said at the top, we could not do this without our partners, so we're truly grateful for this collaboration. And of course, we are collaborating with NJBIA. So let me hand it back to NJBIA to give us some updates and tell us what's going on there. Awesome. Anthony, come tell us what's going on at NJBIA.
You got it, Donna. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you. You might want to turn your video
not
on.
Working.
Oh, it's okay. We can hear you.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the Business Growth Roundtable here at NJBIA. Just wanted to, let you know that we are looking forward to everyone coming out to WBLF this year. It's taking place in Atlantic City, New Jersey, at Bally's Hotel and Casino. This will take place September 23rd and September 24th. So please look out for emails we're receiving and other information from us at NJBIA. I'm thrilled that we work with this amazing group of talented women, and As Don and I were talking earlier, the Business Growth Roundtable has really exceeded with all of you coming out here and wanting to know more about what's taking place in our business community. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the nation's largest statewide business association here, representing about 1/4 of all New Jersey employees here in the state of New Jersey. And just keep in mind that NJBIA is dedicated to supporting companies across the state, always guided by our core principle of business at the center. We also offer other opportunities here at NJBIA with our events, both in person and virtually throughout the year. We have our magazine and our digital opportunities. So if you need any other additional information, please feel free to reach out to me here at NJBIA. I'll put my information in the chat. And I look forward to speaking with you all. Thank you so much. Now I'll turn over to my partner in crime, Miss Donna Miller.
Why, thank you, Anthony. And thank you, all of you, for joining us today. We know it's July. We know you'd probably rather be on the beach, but it's all good. We're glad you're here. And because it is summer, we're doing something we don't often do. In fact, this is the first time. We are doing a replay of one of our most popular episodes, which we will get to in just a moment, and that is on strategic partnerships. Before we get to the actual presentation, I want you to know a couple of things. Use the chat. You are at an event with about 122 people who are interested in what you're interested in. So I want to encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat and network with the people who are here learning about strategic partnerships with you as well. We will allow time after the presentation for live Q&A. We've gotten some great questions with registration, but we always give precedent to any of you if you have a question throughout the presentation. And what I do want to ask you is to kindly use the Q&A section of this Zoom webinar because the chat gets pretty unruly for us. So, and by the way, we will be recording this, so you won't have to take copious notes. So last but not least, I want to tell you about a new event that we have put together for all of you. It is called the C3 Growth Exchange, and Kelly, my partner in crime at C3 Works, will drop the link to that event in the chat as we're talking. But we know that this information is really great. And as Anthony said, I really am super proud of all the things that we've been able to provide with all of you to help you accelerate your business growth. But the other thing we know is that it's application, not knowledge, that really helps you to move the needle. So C3 Works has created a monthly event. This Business Growth Roundtable is the second Tuesday of the month. The C3 Growth Exchange is going to be the fourth Tuesday of the month, and it will be a small group mastermind where we will get together and help you and your professional colleagues who join this meeting as well. We will help you to move through business challenges and to apply some of the knowledge that you're learning here at the Business Growth Roundtable to, like I said, really help you move the needle. So C3 Growth Exchange, free event, limited seating. You have to book your seats. So that's going to be the fourth Tuesday of the month. And for the Business Growth Roundtable, we do take the month of August off. So in September, we will be meeting on September 15th, which is actually a change of date because we didn't think any of you really wanted to do a webinar the day after Labor Day. Neither did I. So September 15th, we will be talking, Rachel and I will deliver a presentation on marketing for your current growth stage. So fourth Tuesday of the month is the C3 Growth Exchange. That will happen in August and September. And the Business Growth Roundtable, second Tuesday of the month, skip August. We'll meet you in September on the 15th to talk about marketing for your current growth stage. Okay, I think that's everything. And I will be monitoring the chat window throughout the presentation. But let me present and share. Let me just make sure I'm doing the share sound. Okay. Let me share. This is one of my favorite events that we did. And here at C3, where the C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community, we live those values out loud. We believe in the power of strategic partnerships. We know that it's the kinder, faster way to accelerate your growth. So enjoy the presentation, get your questions ready, put them in the Q&A, and we will be back here in about 40 minutes. Let me bring to the stage, well, my partner in this particular brand of crime, which would be Rachel Durkin. President and founder of Paradigm Marketing and Design. And Betty Boros, who Anthony mentioned, is the Chief Member Strategy Officer at NJBIA. And let me also bring Randy Stoddard, who is Chief Marketing Officer and Vice President at Delta Dental. So I thank you all for being here today to have this conversation. So the title of our little panel discussion for today is The Power of Strategic Partnerships, Unlocking Synergy and Growth. And I have to tell you that this is a topic that is very near and dear to me, both from a values perspective and how I have built my platform. I opened under one brand, and about 12 years ago, I rebranded to C3, and the C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community. I firmly believe that working in harmony is the kinder, gentler, faster, smarter way to get to where it is you're trying to go. And so, as some of you may have heard me say, I will get a 8:30 p.m. text from the famous Rachel Durkin saying, Donna, I have an idea.
It's usually 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic.
And my response is usually a couple of expletives and then, okay, let's talk about it. And then we end up, here we are in our fourth year of the Business Growth Roundtable. So this is a great example of collaboration and strategic partnership. But what I'd like to do with this conversation is, because we know we have a mixed audience and we want you to get the most value out of this conversation, we're basically going to talk about three different things. We're going to talk about the foundations of strategic partnerships. We're going to talk about what it looks like to walk in partnership and what those best practices might be. And equally important, we're going to talk about how do you measure success, because it can't just be about feeling good about what you're doing. So, Rachel, you and I are here because of a strategic partnership. Talk to our audience a little bit about finding the right partners. How do you know? How do you assess? How do you know?
Sure. So I think for me, step one was establishing the goals of what I wanted to achieve. So I called you up. This actually started as a result of COVID and a lack of new leads coming in and virtual networking opportunities out in the marketplace. And I knew my motivation was I needed an opportunity to increase our brand exposure in a digital world and to increase our lead flow in a crazy economy at the time. And so I think number one is establishing what you need out of partnership and what you want to accomplish. And then there's three things to look for in a partner. One, do they share your values? Do they have integrity? Are they, I shouldn't say this on camera, but like, don't be a dick. Like, are they nice people to work with? Two, do you trust them? Two, do we have similar goals? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that their goals have to be my goals. But for example, when we approached BIA to partner with us on the roundtable, I knew BIA's goal was to increase their membership benefits and expand virtual networking at the time when it didn't exist. And our opportunity or our goals were to bring in new leads into our database. And so we each had goals that aligned with the partnership, even though they were different. So do the goals align? And then three, can each partner bring something to the table? Either that be money, resources and time, knowledge. I call it marketing assets. Do you have a marketing list that you can bring to the table? Does everybody have something to add? Because if the partnership is unbalanced, that's when it will fail. So if you can do those three things, you can create a strong partnership.
I completely agree and I understand. And I think also it's funny because when you call me and we talk about partnering together, I have a pretty good marketing head, but I'm, and there are even times where we overlap, but I know that one of the things I bring to the table, because you constantly tell me this, is we have systems, we're organized, we know how to run things, we know how to dot the I's and cross the T's, and ultimately those things can help you succeed or they can really drag you down.
And to be clear, you've said no to me in partnerships before, and I said no to you. So if the goal, it's okay to say no, even if you really like someone.
Yeah, 100%. So Betty, you talked a little bit about kind of finding the hidden gems in exploring opportunities. Talk to us, because you probably have to cast a very wide net to come back to where you want to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I would have to say, my first step there is really investigating every opportunity. And Whenever you engage with new partners, it expands your network, right? It can lead to additional opportunities and collaboration beyond whatever you even thought what the initial discussion was. So, I mean, and every time you have one of those discussions, it helps you learn, right? And every time you do that, you hear something about a partner, it's going to give you a deeper understanding of your own environment. So it's about assessing multiple opportunities, making sure you listen, right, and finding them where they may not exist. You could think of, I always think of NJBIA, excuse me, as a very kind of a stodgy organization. We've been around for a long time. Our foundation is in advocacy. And when you approached us in COVID about this opportunity and the Table for Four that we were doing at the time, something that was very different for us. It was not something we had ever done, but COVID brought us a new space, right? And we needed to take a risk and look at things a different way. So yeah, you have to talk through every run and recognize that there might be small baby steps, but everything can be an opportunity.
Awesome. Totally agree. So Randy, it's funny because we're talking about we've got partnerships that we create because we want to create and we want to build something bigger than 1+1. You've got multiple partnerships across many different platforms, and you've even got, your brokers are managing the client relationship. So that's kind of another level where it's almost a required. So talk to us a little bit about when you're looking at putting your strategic partnerships in place, whether they are for revenue producing, community awareness, or servicing your brokers, what is it that you're looking for, and what are some of the foundations that you run them through from a criteria perspective?
So, by the way, I think Betty and Rachel have pretty much answered this, but I'm going to add a little bit here. So I think, first of all, I'll jump on LinkedIn. I'll see what some of the top people are about, what the company is about. I'll take a look and see as well as much as I can find. Is the organization financially stable? Try to think about, is there a way that we will both benefit from the partnership, or is it going to be one-sided? And then I think overall, it depends. There are different kinds of partnerships. So a partnership with a broker, and it could be about revenue, it could be about customer satisfaction. A partner with a sports organization could be about brand awareness, and a partnership with one of our foundation grantees is about delivering on our mission and providing oral health care to as many people as we can who can afford it.
Got it. Awesome. So let's switch, and Randy, I'll start with you because let's talk about walking in partnership. And again, you have many different types that you're maintaining. What are some of those best practices when you have identified a partner, you're going to move forward? What are the best practices? And also for our audience, some may aspire to partner with you or NJBIA or anyone on this call. How do they go about that? What's the best practices for walking in partnership with Delta Dental?
So I think, aside from the things that we just talked about, identifying partners, is to kind of agree on the objectives up front for the partnership, for both sides. What is it you're trying to achieve? Then agreeing on the action plan with the partnership. What are we going to be doing to achieve that objective? And then lastly, how will we measure the results? How do we know what will will say this is successful? And that also includes figuring out what good looks like, because you may not always know with a partner. And I think those are probably some of the most important foundational aspects. There also is the aspect of just getting to know each other and making sure that your cultures match up, your values match up, and that you're kind of have common ground in terms of what you're looking to achieve in the greater whole of the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm sure you do this, and I would imagine that many people in our audience do. But I think it's really important that as you flush all of this out, you talked about culture, Rachel talked about values. I don't think you can have a strategic partnership that those two things are not aligned. But at the same time, I think it's really important to put everything in writing. You might have a great verbal agreement. You might have a great connection. This might be someone that you've worked with before, but I think it's really important that as you're working these strategic partnerships, everything's in writing. Rachel, you talk a lot, obviously, from the marketing perspective. Talk to us about shared target market and how you walk through that together.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the partnerships I've been in, the goal is usually to ultimately increase revenue or new business and decrease costs. That's my ultimate goal in most cases. Other people have different goals. But in order to do that, it's really important that the partners I work with have a similar target audience. We're going, not competitors. So Don and you and I have similar target audiences, but we don't necessarily compete with each other. We might overlap, but we don't compete. We even refer each other. So finding a partner that has alignment in wanting to reach the same people, I think is really important. The other thing that I would say is to go off of what Randy was saying is clear expectations and accountability. So putting it in writing, but having that conversation up front. And I even, I had this happen twice where a partner wasn't doing what they said they were going to do, and having those conversations quickly. Remember, this is a professional business arrangement, but also we want to build trust. And so having those open conversations of expectations, I think is really important.
Agreed. Betty, you talked about, bringing in partners is not a sign of weakness. I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think sometimes taking partnerships can feel like a risk, especially if it's taking you outside your lane, something you've never done before. But no, it's not a sign of weakness. I think it's more about demonstrating strength and foresight, right? Being able to take that risk and look forward to what it might bring. And again, it brings you additional resources and expertise and an increased network. So it can definitely accelerate your growth. So no, you have to be brave to get into a partnership and investigate them.
Yes, and I think you have to do your homework. And as I often say, how you prospect is how you do business. So as you approach potential strategic partners, how you walk in that space is going to tell them how you're going to walk in this partnership, and that's super important. We as an organization, C3 Workplace, before COVID, we did a small business week celebration, and we got clearer and clearer about what we were doing with that event in conjunction with the Small Business Administration celebrating nationally. This is our market. So we brought together people to give them a day of education and inspiration. And by the last year that we did it before COVID, we had actually created sponsorship packages, and we had monetized, offset the cost, because for those of you who've ever done large events, they take man hours like you cannot believe. Mm-hmm. So the dollars that we were able to monetize helped to offset the cost, but it very much elevated our reach. And that's, to me, what strategic partnerships tend to be about more than anything else is, how can you make 1 + 1 = 10? Well, that's in a combined reach. So, with this particular program, it's my resources, Rachel's resources, NJBIA, and then we take those sponsorship dollars and use them to advertise, to expand our reach. So I think you have to have a formula. You have to consistently be measuring it. So let's kind of flip to measuring, because it's super important. And I'd love for each of you, especially you, Randy, because you have so many different types of memberships, kind of, if you would be willing to share with the audience almost an end-to-end, how it started and where it began. But talk to me a little bit about measuring success. And Rachel, I'll start with you. And, you and I always talk about KPIs, whether it's with our employees, whether it's your, net promoter score, what is it? So how are you measuring success of strategic partners?
So in everything I do, I measure success in 2 ways: for our clients, for ourselves, every campaign. The first is what everybody knows, direct return on investment. So depending on your sales cycle, that can be measured in 3 months, 6 months, but you can always measure the quality of the leads that come in over time. So constantly looking after every campaign that you run, every partnership event or whatever you're doing, what does the ROI look like? What does the quality of those leads look like? Number two is, and this one's a little bit less black and white, is what I call brand assets. We're not Coca-Cola. We're not going to run a Nielsen report of like awareness in California, but I can measure growth in website hits, in social media followings, and email. The holy grail for me is email list growth or CRM growth. I always say that you're renting your web hits and your social, but you own your email. But those are early indicators of awareness of what you're talking about, traction to the site, engagement. So the name of the game in marketing for the B2B marketplace is bring in new blood, new leads to your CRM, and then nurture them over time. On average, it takes 9 to 13 touches to build trust in a brand to convert it towards a sale. And if you're measuring those brand assets early, you're getting indicators in the long game of if you can expect the ROI numbers to come. So watching those often is really important. So, always think about those two categories.
100%. Randy, talk to us about how you're measuring success in the different types. You've got community, you've got sports, you've got brokers. There must be different criteria for each.
Yeah, it does. It depends on which piece of the marketing mix we're talking about. So if we're talking about direct response marketing or demand generation, we're measuring paid clicks on paid social, on paid search, and we can track it all the way through from a click to whether someone ended up buying an individual plan from us or a small business plan, for example. We could tell if somebody responded to a postcard that we sent out and bought from us. And the same for an email. We're tracking opens, click-throughs. Did they request a quote? Did they buy? Did they search for a dentist before they bought? All those sorts of things. So that's a lot more straightforward, and a lot more straightforward than it used to be earlier in my career. Digital wasn't as big of a deal. Digital has actually made it better and easier to track and easier to reassess and things like retargeting also be a us to keep leads warm and keep people in our funnel. When we get something like sports marketing, it's a little bit harder to measure. Nobody goes to a New Jersey Devils game thinking about buying dental insurance. I mean, except for me. And I wish others did, but unfortunately they don't. But the goal there is to build awareness of our brand, and so that when someone is outside the game, they decide about it's time I need to get dental insurance. I need to buy it on my own. I need to select it through my employer. That they'll have Delta Dental top of mind, and they'll have a good feeling in their tummy, I like to say, about our brand, which is brand affinity. And then, in terms of this partnership as well, if you do something like sports marketing and nonprofit grantee things, you really have to be all in and thinking about how you maximize the return on what you're paying for here. And it's beyond measuring impressions, because we know how many people attend the games. We know how many people are on TV who see our digital dashboards. But, beyond that, it's things like working with New Jersey Devils, a foundation, to provide free mouth guards to youth hockey players in New Jersey, and attending and participating in pregame business panels that cover topics from employee retention to sports marketing. And I've been on one of those panels before. And also entertainment. So bringing our customers, our brokers, our businesses to the game, and not just having them be at the game, but working with the Devils to give them an experience that they will never forget, whether it's high five tunnel, high fiving the players, or riding on the Delta Dental fans. So, those are probably some of the key measurements. And we actually go back and take a look and see, how our relationship is with people that we've entertained as well. And that's another, management or measurement criteria.
Awesome. And I think it's often about the ways that we have an expectation when we set these partnerships up. We have a clear path to how we're going to measure success, who's going to do what. But I think that the other thing that's important is as you go along during the life cycle of these strategic partnerships is identifying ways to leverage them even more than you originally thought. Betty, you talked about celebrating small wins. Tell me what that's a little bit about.
Yeah, it's funny because so we do, a lot of the same things that Rachel and Randy talked about with our metrics and measuring clicks and responses. And, we have social media goals and email goals and revenue goals, of course, like everyone else. But I think celebrating those small wins regardless, right? It provides that sense of accomplishment, it boosts motivation and morale, when it reinforces, the idea that progress is being made, even if it's incremental. We all started with the partnership, early in COVID, and it has evolved into many other things. So, it's momentum. It's about those small building blocks that let you achieve your larger goals. And I think celebrating milestones and achievements with a team is very important. You met Anthony, he's part of my team. We have, a relatively small sales team, but we work to celebrate every win because they're important. They help us all motivate every day and make sure that we can reach the goals that we ultimately need to reach.
Agreed. And what I think about is even with this business roundtable, Rachel and I have now spun off a podcast, and Betty and Cal and I, Cal dropped it in the chat. We're working on a leadership program together. But also, when you talk about small things, they're not always small. They might seem small, but you have noticed over the last 6 to 9 months, Rachel and I are bringing our team onto the table. Well, our job as leaders is to raise up other leaders. So where in these strategic partnerships can you use them to achieve some of your internal goals? Do you need to, share the stage and share the expertise? And I think that these are other pieces that come out of strategic partnerships that are valuable. So we've kind of talked about the foundations. We talked about walking in partnership. Randy, what I would love to hear from you is because you are servicing your broker relationships who, in essence, if I have it right, own the customer relationship to some extent, but you've got all your brand affinity going on. What is that strategic relationship? How does that differ from those ones where you're, sports marketing or helping a nonprofit? That's a whole different game, it would seem to me.
It is. And I consider a broker to be a customer and try to think about their experience just as much as I do our members who are on our plans. So, we have our own account management team. We have our own sales team. Account management manages existing customers. But the brokers tend to be the front door to the customer in many cases. So, and if it's an individual, they can help them shop for a plan. They can help small business apply for a policy. And they can help large companies as well. So, they're really representing our brand to our customers. And they have other options for dental. They have our key competitors. And we pay broker commissions, but so do our other competitors as well. So building those relationships and showing the brokers what's in it for both of us. That if we work together, we can both grow our business and retain customers. It's critical to being successful here. And really, at the end of the day, our goal is to make Delta Dental benefits full proposition as easy and seamless as it can be for brokers who many times are selling a lot of different other types of insurance in addition to that.
Awesome. Rachel, talk to us about making it easy. I love what you said, Randy, and I agree. You have to make it easy and simple. So, and all of this, so on a smaller business level, to me, one of the main ways that I measure a strategic partnership is how many referrals am I getting? It's mostly what I'm doing strategic partnerships with, because those referrals are super important to me because my close ratio on a referral is astronomically higher than an internet lead from someone who found me via a Google search. So those referrals are really important to me. And if you were a Sandler student, as I am and Rachel is, you know that we need to make it easy for people to do that for us. So Rachel, in your strategic partnership, when you're outreaching, what are some of those things that make it easier or harder, or how can you make it easier for your potential partners?
So I think the first step, I'm going to answer your question directly, but I want to take a step back for a second. I think the importance of building what I call an ecosystem is critical. So in this partnership right here, we've got, Donna, you and I run the day-to-day of how the Growth Roundtable works. NJ BIA gives us the resources that we need, the support, the trust in the brand name, kind of like the Delta Dentist to the Devils. Not that Delta Dentist is not trusted, it very much is, but probably because it hangs out with the devil so much. But the trust in the brand name, the audience behind it, and the resources. And then we've got the sponsors who are, we're putting some of our own money, but we also have the sponsors who are getting a benefit. Exposure, and we're using their dollars to expand advertising. So there's 2 sponsors. So that's a party of 5. All of us are spending less money and getting a significant greater reach for the pieces that we're putting into this. What you're putting in, you're getting out tenfold, right? So that's step 1, figuring out whose responsibility is what and being really clear with that. Step 2 is making it stupid easy when it comes to your responsibility. So Paradigm's responsibility is to write the campaign outline for marketing this every month. That's our job. So every month, prior to the next month's event, we have the landing page set up. We outline what the emails can look like. You can certainly change them, but we give you a template. We outline what the social media posts will look like. We give you the artwork, and we share that with all of our partners, all of our panelists, all of our sponsors, and does a couple things. 1, it makes your life so much easier just to start marketing it. And then also, if one of your jobs, Donna, in this partnership is to market it, I made it really easy for you. So now I'm getting, I think I was looking at the numbers, like you brought in 35 or 40 registrants. I brought in like 30, BIA brought in like 40, and then we've got the advertising dollars, but we're all benefiting from that outreach, but we're making it as easy as possible.
And let me just interrupt there. And if you don't know this and you're doing webinars, and almost in anything, you can have different links. It's a type of affiliate marketing. So we can measure exactly what's coming from where. We adjust our advertising based on what we see. We might adjust our messaging according to what we see. Rachel does a great job of creating this marketing kit that makes it super easy for everyone to market the event. And I think that's one of those small, simple, but super powerful tricks when it comes to creating strategic partnerships. It's written procedure and protocol. It's templates. It's cut and paste. I want
to be fair. The first 2 or 3 suck. Not suck. They're harder. And, we just started our rollout with the nonprofit council with BIA. Similar to this roundtable. New partners, new strategy. It's a little bumpy. We only started in January, but then 4 years into this now, it's like I close my eyes and this is done. So to be fair, setting up systems is important, but it's not always easy right away.
Well, if it was easy,
everyone would do it.
Everyone would do it. So Betty, talk to us about how you guys are doing this internally, how you're kind of setting yourselves and your partners up for success in how you manage these partnerships.
Sure. So there's a tremendous amount of coordination that happens within our organization. So we sell a lot of things. We do a lot of things. Our biggest issue is we have to be everything to everyone without being everything to everyone. So there are certainly routine meetings that we do routinely, right, to bring everybody in, but there's a tremendous amount of checks and balances that happen along the way. And I have to say that, so we're a hybrid workforce, but we work, most of us are remote. We use Teams like crazy. We interact constantly. So the planning for the next year starts mid-year, the year before. Things are split up, things are organized, and then we measure monthly, if not more frequently, throughout the year. But yeah, it's a total team effort, and I have to say that we probably readjust about quarterly in our team with our outreach, because it has to change with all of the events that we do and all the partnerships that we create.
Absolutely. And the events do tend to take on a life of their own.
They do. They do.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. So let's look forward a little bit. I spend a fair amount of time these days tinkering with Copilot and ChatGPT and what's laying over CRM. So I'd love to go around our room here and talk a little bit about what you see. Artificial intelligence, we're talking about it all the time. We have panels on it on a regular basis. We're all a little bit, I kind of feel like we're a little bit like the blind leading the blind at the moment. It's exciting, but it's also a little overwhelming. So I'd love to get a sense from each of you what you see the future holding for this type of effort where you're trying to decide who to partner with, you're walking in partnership, how do you measure? What do you think the future is? And I look back and what I think about is what led to my rebrand was I opened under a name that had nothing to do with what I was doing. I often say much of my success was unintentional until I became strategic. But I remember seeing Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins, and I thought, oh my God, that's brilliant. Like, it was probably 20 years ago. So, we look back to look forward. So, I don't know who wants to run with that question. What does the future look like, and how do we help our audience to prepare?
So I'll start. I say analytics. We talked a lot about it. Everybody touched on it. It's amazing what we're learning from our data. And every time you have the opportunity to collect it and look at it, you should do that. But also, don't think that just because the data is in front of you and you think you know what it says, make sure that you get some outside help to make sure that they're validating or telling you something new about that data. But data is just changing everything, and it's great.
I agree. I've always said I have good instincts, but if you combine good instincts with great data, you're making some really fantastic decisions. Rachel, how about you? What do you think the future holds?
I'm going to jump on the data bandwagon, but I also think using it for research. So being like an understanding audience alignment, understanding goals, understanding opportunities, but also just making life easier. One of the things, now for fun, if you all go follow Paradigm on LinkedIn, some of the videos I do are me in real life. And some of the videos I do are an avatar of me that's talking, and you'll have to guess which one's which and post about it on LinkedIn. But it makes life easy. So I can send out to Donna, or if Donna does an avatar for me on a video, I can then have her say, with her permission, whatever I need her to say. So cross marketing is really easy now, and also terrifying, but really easy. So being able to use AI to make partnership marketing and cross marketing easier is definitely the future, and we're already doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Randy, what do you think?
So first of all, artificial intelligence isn't new. It's been around for a while, but what's new is the speed at which it's developing, and a lot of that is driven by things like ChatGPT. But for the healthcare industry, you see everything from hospitals using it for physicians to take patient notes during the day, so that at the end of the day, it's a much easier job for the physician to review and reconcile and edit those patient notes. And so it's an example of, I think a lot of people, the low-hanging fruit is helping to improve administrative processes, whether it's processing things, that sort of thing. That's kind of the low-hanging fruit on AI. Another thing that I'm particularly interested in is customer service, call center, and website intercept surveys and aggregating, using AI to aggregate comments and feedback from our customers so that we can take away insights on what are the key items they're facing when they work with us. What are the key issues we need to address?
It is, it's been around for a long time. I guess the newness is how accessible it is to so many of us in so many new ways. And, as I kind of look to the future, I think that, there are many people that are concerned about artificial intelligence. And I think many of those concerns are valid. I mean, I think it's as big as our smartphones or even the internet. It has just as much capacity for good as for evil. But I think that those of us who are able to use it for those low-hanging fruit type of situations that free us up to do the more strategic initiatives, I think that's where the real value is going to come in. And I mentioned this earlier, I just started tinkering with Copilot, which lays over Office 365. And so automatically, when I have a Teams meeting, it's giving me the high points and the action items and who said they'd do what. I'm not doing anything to achieve that. So I think that we all have to embrace all of this, but kind of to what, Betty said at the very beginning, which is we have to look at every opportunity as a potential opportunity, even if it looks, a little crazy, a little hairy, and a little scary. So before we go to Q&A, and we're going to do that in just a few minutes, so please enter your questions in the Q&A section. I know we had some at registration, and Kelly Laurel will join us shortly to do Q&A. But let's flip it around. Tell our audience about a strategic partnership that did not work out. Who wants to run with that little nugget?
I've definitely had some that haven't worked out. Or I've had some that worked out, like our initial goal was accomplished, but afterwards I was like, I'm never doing that again. And usually that happens when one of two things occurs, at least for me. One, the partner didn't bring to the table what they said they would bring to the table, and so there was a misalignment of responsibilities. Or two, the alignment of the goals was mismatched. There was an error in the beginning where what we thought the goals were not, in fact, everybody's goals. So 1 + 1 was not making 3. So again, making sure that everyone's really clear on the resource, who's going to provide what resources, and the goals is critical to success.
Agreed. Betty, Randy, any lessons learned?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Randy.
I think what Betty just said, like the truthfulness of the information that you've received at the beginning and doing your due diligence is very, very important. Yeah, I mean, I think this, Donna, I thought back to my days in the pharma industry, and I had spent a year working on a new product name, packaging, and I got a call that the clinical trial that we were partnering with someone had failed. And so that really gives you cause to go back and do a post-mortem, which I think you need to do in any partnership that doesn't work out, and figure out could we have predicted this failure sooner? What were the red flags that we missed? And that, those types of items that and the truthfulness of everything that you've been looking at.
Right. Betty, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a couple of things. So some that have failed, I'll go back to one of Rachel's earlier comments. Sometimes you have to manage your partner. So you might have an agreement, you might have laid all the ground rules, but if you don't manage them, you won't get to where you need to go. So in times where we thought we didn't have to really manage a partner, it didn't work out as well as we had thought. The other time, I won't tell you who it was, but managing expectations. So we're large organizations, and some people think that because we're so big, a partnership can bring instant and remarkable rewards, but a new product can take time to resonate. And we said it earlier, 9 to 13 touches to really get someone to pay attention. So when the reward wasn't big or quick enough, they got a little angry and they left us feeling soured. Um, so yeah, you've got to manage expectations throughout the whole process and make sure that people are realistic about, what they're going to receive.
Well, well, well. Gosh, it's so funny. That is from 2 years ago. Can you hear me, Kel? Am I good? Um, so that was from 2 years ago, but I'm astounded at how the same principles still apply. Um, and I love the fact that everybody was pretty dead on about where AI was going. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff, good stuff. So again, that was a replay of something we did a while back. But we still have some questions here. So Kelly, you want to take me through what do we have in
Yes,
Q&A?
absolutely. So we do have a few that came in. Again, we're always appreciative when people are sending us questions because it's always helpful for everyone to sort of discuss together. So we'll go through the newer ones.
Great.
From Angelo, we had, it would be great to hear specific partnerships and how they started and what the result was.
Well, I think that Betty and Rachel and Randy covered a bunch of those. I mean, I would just expand a little bit on, I had talked about our Small Business Week partnership. And that really, the first year it was kind of us scrambling and doing nothing. And, Betty just said this. She said, these strategic partnerships, they may not necessarily bring instant success. I think many times you have to kind of keep at it for a while. And our Small Business Week over the years really grew. And, the result is it not only, and this goes to kind of Rachel talked about how it improves your brand. It certainly improved our brand and our thought leadership platform. But without a doubt, we got business out of it. And that's why we do it. And I know we have a bunch of questions, but one of the things that is really important is that you're capturing, we talked about KPIs and analytics and measuring data. You have to track all of this in the CRM. So you have to really get clear on what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and what those people look like. So so that would be kind of a little bit more of an expansion on that example.
Right, exactly. That's great. And I think, even to piggyback off what you're saying, being able to measure what you're coming in, but there's also certain things I don't know if you will see right away, and that's like boosting your credibility and putting you into circles that you wouldn't have been in otherwise. So,
Agreed.
yeah,
Agreed.
there's a lot of a ripple effect when you're able to come together and collaborate with other people. Nancy is one of our brightest students here who's got so many questions. So let's get going. And Nancy, first question is, what is the best way to approach a potential partner when your client list is a little weaker than theirs might be?
Great question. And hi, Nancy. So glad you're back in the area. Nancy was, I think, in Texas for a while. Okay, so best way to approach a potential partner when your client list is weak. Well, you have to decide what it is you're bringing to the table. Is it that you're going to go deep and you're going to do research? Is it that you're going to do all the legwork? Is it that you're going to be able to articulate something? So I don't think, of course you are looking for expanded reach in a partnership. Rachel talked about that. We certainly believe that. If you are going to a partnership, the other thing I would say is, I often talk about, we have our whales, dolphins, and minnows, right? So if your client list is a little weak, don't go after the whales. Practice on the minnows and the dolphins and get some traction and some history under your belt. But basically, you got to bring something to the table, and you're going to have to work on what does that look like.
Excellent. Excellent answer. So one more from Nancy, which kind of piggybacks off this. I think it would help. What suggestions do you have about borrowing an audience for lead generation?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by borrowing an audience. So I don't know if Nancy, you want to chat, if you're here, if you want to pop a little explanation in the chat on that. But I think that kind of obviously ties into if you have your client list is weak. So in my opinion, the first thing that comes to mind for me is use LinkedIn to nurture those relationships. So in other words, you are following people on LinkedIn. This person who has this giant following posts something to their LinkedIn. Add a thoughtful comment and you will be getting in front of that person's audience. So comment thoughtfully and appropriately on LinkedIn. The other thing I always do is when you go to an online event or an in-person event, stand up and ask a question. Do not be in that room and not ask a question. That is such a thought leadership moment, right? Stand up, introduce yourself, and ask a question. So I don't know if that helps, Nancy, if that's kind of what you were thinking, but those are two ways that come to mind for me of how you can kind of borrow audience. And the other thing is NJBIA has tons of paid sponsorship opportunities. You can buy your audience if you need to as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Great.
And I don't think asking questions will be a problem for Nancy. She's got really good ones this session. So thank you, Nancy.
Okay.
I know we have some from Meryl specifically for Randy, who's, as you see, not here at the moment.
Yes.
So I'm going to go to some we had in our registration,
Sure.
and we'll forward
Sounds
your question
good
to Randy so he can answer.
All right. I think we might have time for one more.
Yeah. So we have one from Karen Fisher from Office Evolution in East Brunswick. So how do I vet if a potential partner's brand fits mine, and what red flag to spot a partnership will dilute my strong positioning?
Ooh, juicy question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did talk, Rachel and Betty and Randy, we all talked about the same thing. First of all, if you are not clear on your own values, you absolutely must start there. Before you enter into any strategic partnership initiative, I believe you need to get clear on and document your own mission, values, vision statement. What do I do? What do I stand for? Where am I going? To me, that is the shortest definition of a mission, values, vision statement. And it's really important that you document that because number one rule of strategic partners is I must partner with a like valued person. I do not believe that they will succeed if not. So I think, Rachel and everyone on the webinar talked about values. You also have to have a shared target market. Now, if you're going after customers, you need to make sure that your customer avatars line up. If you're going after centers of influence, you need to make sure your centers of influence line up. And again, expectations. What do you expect? Assume nothing, discuss, and then document everything. And so, what do you bring to the table? What do they bring to the table? How does that create massive value for your very aligned shared market? And how are you going to measure success? How you measure success initially might be different than how you measure success a few years down the road. And red flags, I think, not to get a little woo-woo, but anything that is not aligned with what you've agreed to in the expectations, and several people on the webinar talked about, it's a little bit of you get into these, it's like a romance, you first meet, you're like, la, 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 we'll do anything together, right? Well, that fades over time. So when the shiny fades are the expectations, the who'll do what, the timelines, is everybody still doing what they said they were going to do? And I think if that's not happening, that's a huge red flag. The other thing I would honestly say, Karen, and I say this to everyone, if your gut says if your gut, that instinct in you tells you that something is off, that something is probably a red flag, it's probably a red flag. So you can use your documented agreement to bring it back into alignment, or you can use your documented agreement and expectations to have courageous conversations. And maybe this isn't for you. So I hope that was helpful. And we've hit the top of the hour, and we always try to be very mindful. You're welcome, Karen. I'm glad that was helpful. And for any of you, if there is anything we didn't get to during this webinar, and Meryl, if you want me to run that by Randy, email me, donna@c3works.com, and I will gladly get you the answers. And again, if you want to put some of this into practice, join us July 28th, I think, fourth Tuesday. We'll be doing the C3 Growth Exchange, where we'll have a small group and we can brainstorm this and you can leave with an action plan. The other thing I want to say, and just before we go, is, Betty, Rachel, and Randy gave you kind of some of their ideas on AI. I have to tell you, this type of strategy is exactly what AI can write for you. You can literally point AI to the different websites, ask it to draft a strategic partnership plan. I'll demo that during the growth exchange because it's super, super powerful. And we're doing it at C3 day in and day out for strategy. So thank you, everyone. Glad you're back too, Nancy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We want to wish you a wonderful rest of your summer, and we hope to see you at the Growth Exchange. And Kelly, thanks for facilitating Q&A. And so see all of you in September or at the Business Growth Exchange. Be well, everyone. Take care.